Hey, today I'm going to share with you a little bit about my website. I'm going to explain why it's important to have a website, why it's cool, and I'm going to show you a bit of how I maintain it or add things to it and how I've actually automated some of those things. So, yeah, strap in, get yourself a cup of tea. I've got a glass of water. So, just a little bit around the philosophy. I think fundamentally on the internet, we have lords and we have peasants. We have those who own a section of the internet, and we have those who are primarily or completely under the thumb of someone else's web space or cyberspace. And you're basically a sucker to whoever runs that website, for example, facebook.com. Nothing wrong with having a Facebook account, but I think, when someone else can dictate what you can and can't say, or how you present your media, I think, not as cool as having your own space. This is my website here, marksch.com, and I've got another one open here with the IP address of the virtual private server where the files of this website actually exist. So basically you want your own website, right? Not just me. And so let me explain a little bit about the infrastructure around how I operate my website. So when I administer a copy of the website on my own machine at home, right? And then what I do is I send out the update of that to GitHub, which is over here, which has the repository for everything that exists on my website, right? So I'm going to be using this create.sh file later on. If you're interested, this is all open source and you can read all the code for my website and everything there. So I push up updates to GitHub and then I log into my VPS and I pull it down from GitHub. Excellent. So I am going to show you now how I would go about creating another article. So pretty much everything I want the layout, I want everything to be the same, although it is very, very simple. There are a few rules and things that I want to copy over into a blank article. This is my documents folder, and what I've done is I've cloned the repository that contains all of the website files from GitHub, right? So now this is just a folder on my computer, and I can list out everything in it. So I've got a folder for blog, I've got a folder for home, and these are some files that I use to administer the system, right? So I'll just show you around a little bit. So I can change directory into our blog folder, and I can list everything in there. Now I've got a blank .html file. This is what we're going to use to create our new article page. And then for each article, I have and some of them not even published yet, I have a folder for each of them. And basically I can list things in there. So I'll show you how I do that. So I get ls, meme page, for example. And in there, for cleanliness, I keep everything in one folder. I've got the page itself, and then I've got the folder which contains all of the images. So to create a new article, I would have to create a new directory or folder and copy this blank HTML file and then rename that file to whatever I want the article to be named. And then from there, the article will exist in its blank state. However, we want a button, don't we? So we want to be able to get to it. We don't want to have to type in, the directory to the HTML file which contains our new article, right? So for those who don't know, I think I was explaining just before how this is the IP of the machine that hosts the website, right? Machine, just computer. And this home.html is a file that is represented here in a web browser, but is really just a file with a bunch of text of rules for what this page should look like. And I can show you what that looks like. So I'll change directory and go ... to go up one. So now we're back to our home mark.sh file, right? And I can list stuff out. And so you can see here, we've got our home.html. Again, this is what this page is, because we've got our machine and then we're going directly to that file. And the web browser will interpret the information in that file and present this. So, okay, where were we? This page is just a representation of this file, okay? So, we have this file here, and remember, this is a copy of our, basically master copy, I would call it, in GitHub. So it's down here, we make changes, we push it up to GitHub, and then we pull from GitHub down to the VPS, if that hopefully makes sense. Don't stress too much. This is just a showing you what this all looks like, not strict tutorial. Okay, so let's have a look at this home.html file. And to do that, I can go vim home.html. And for those who haven't seen HTML yet, this might look a little bit daunting, but it really isn't once you get to know. So I can give you just a sort of a look around. So H1 is a heading, and this text will be represented as a large heading, because number one is the large one. So that's that text there. Similarly, we've got topics here, slightly smaller with a H2. That's there. And finance, smaller again, finance. And then there's 3 buttons here. So 1, 2, 3, and we've got a button here, 1, 2, 3 buttons there. And so each button, if I click on 5 years in the market, for example, this one here, it takes us to /blog, and then it will take us to 5 years, because remember, we have a folder for each article, and then the HTML file within there is then opened and represented like a web page. Sorry to bore those who already know how HTML works, but this is more of an exposure thing. So yeah, we can leave this home.html file. Now, what we want to do is everything I've explained so far, like making a folder, copying across the blank file, and then renaming the file. Oh, and additionally, let's go back into our home.html. Additionally, we want to add a button. So to add a button, to do it manually, what we'd have to do is we'd have to copy and paste, and then we would have to change this to example, for example, and then you'll see that we'll make this soon. But if we made a folder example and then made a new blank article as example.html, and then you'd have to change the name here as well, and so on. Not too difficult, but kind of annoying when you have to do it a bunch of times. So, oh, sorry about that. Getting bloody messages. Okay, back to business. So we'll quit this, because we don't want to have to do that every single time we want to add a button or add a new article, right? In fact, I'm going to put my phone on silent. Isn't that a good idea? Sweet. So what I've done is I've made a create.sh bash script, right? So I can show you what it looks like to start off with. And it might look a bit daunting and intimidating, but it's really not that complex when you break it down. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I can explain a couple of things here. So when the program starts, it will send out this message to me. Please enter the name of your new article, and then it will read whatever I put in and assign whatever I've written into this variable, right? And then we can use this variable in different ways. And you'll see how that works in a minute. And yeah, again, there's a variant and blah, blah, blah. Don't want to get too much into it. So if we run it, I can do bash create.sh and it gives me that text, right? So now it wants the article. So let's call it example. And I'm going to tell it to be a blog. So now what it's done is it's made a file, a directory in the blog directory. Okay. Now remember when we were up here in our main mark SCH directory, the one that we've copied from GitHub, we listed everything out that's in it. It's got a blog directory, and now in there will be an example directory here. So now it's copied the blog.blank HTML. Remember again, where were we? So we're in blog when we were up here, and we listed everything out, and it's got this folder. This file. Okay, cool. So it's made a copy of it. It's put it in our new folder, and it's renamed it to example.html. Excellent. So now the next little concept is that in this HTML file, if we want a button to be here, we'll have to add that button on a particular line in the file. And so if we change that line, it will show up in a different area, obviously, right? So if we want it to be in finance, we'll have to put it on the finance line. So what the script is getting us to do here is enter the, I hope you can't hear that alarm. That is annoying, if you can. We'll enter, let's say we want it to be in the self-development section. All right, SD. And what do I want the button to say? So the article won't necessarily be the exact same as what the button will say. So I will just say, this is an example blank article test. Sweet. So now it's added this line here, which is like very similar to what we looked at in our home.html. So it's referencing in the blog directory the example directory that it's made, and then the example.html. And then it's taken what we're going to name the button and put it in this area here. Okay, so it's added that line into the home.html on line 28. Amazing. So yeah, and again, this is just a summary. So it's made the folder and it's put the button in there. Sweet. So now it's asking me whether I want to automatically push up this change in software and then reach out to the VPS and then pull it down from GitHub. So again, I'm not going to go into how it does that, but there's a couple of other little scripts, so I don't have to manually do all of that. So as you can see, it's got 2 files changed, blah, blah, blah. So it's added a line into home.html, and then it's added this file here. So sweet, and it's got 17 lines in it. Amazing. Now, if we go back to here and we refresh, we've got our new button. And if we click on it, we've got our blank article. Amazeballs. It's so much easier than going into the blog directory, creating a whole new thing, which is kind of fun to do, but when you've done it a bunch of times, it's, kind of gets laborious and repetitive. So yeah, this is just a bit of an exposure as to how I administer my my website, and the cool things you can do totally independently on your own, without the need for proprietary software where someone's tracking and taking all of your data and watching every move. Not that I don't use proprietary software, but I think the less the better. And when there's a bit of independence, it can be really satisfying and rewarding. And again, you can have your own space on the internet, which no one can dictate to you apart from the law. Don't do illegal things. No one can dictate to you how you have the layout or what you say on there. And to me, that's pretty special. So eventually this will update to the main marksch.com. I might have already. It has already. Yeah. Okay. So, and it's probably a topic for another day, but this domain points towards this IP address. And that's how, on a basic level, how the internet works. You point names to IP addresses, and then you can draw information from that remote computer or server. But yeah, I think it's just really cool to have your own little setup. Again, everything's open source. You can read everything there if you so please. And yeah, hope that makes sense. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts, any questions. If you'd like me to go in actual depth on actually how to do stuff. This is more of a, this is what you can do sort of thing. And if it's interesting to you, I'm glad, because I think this sort of thing would be interesting to me. Yeah, take care and happy website coding. Peace.